Yo, what's up? It's your boy Michael Faze, and today it's all about the Psytrance bass layering technique. Shout outs to Trance Rhythm who suggested that I make this video, and a special shout out to the guys sponsoring me today, SINGOMAKERS. What? These guys are some amazing sound designers, and if you haven't checked out their packs, you should check it out now. I'll leave some links in the description. They're having a sale on LOOPMASTERS, which is extremely affordable for all producers, and I'm not trying to hype it up. I will prove it to you guys using just their samples, and for this project I am using Astral Psytrance, Infected Psytrance, and there's not much processing going on, so here's the demo. Now that was dope, right? And that was even with a few bass notes just missing in the front. So my apologies on that side, but hopefully you didn't even hear that. Now, before we begin, make sure that you hit that bell and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new content. For this bass layer technique, you only really need two layers, one being the sub, and then the second being the stabs. Really simple. So for the stabs, we're only going to be doing some simple sound design, nothing too crazy, and I'm going to set this to init. There we go. So it sounds like this. Sounds yucky right now, but we're going to put this at an octave higher so it has that tone. Hey, already. I'm going to set the sustain down. Now it's all about feel, so I'm not going to have exact numbers, but we'll fine tune it later. Alright, next up we're going to add a filter. Alright, that's really nice. Now, instead of using the first envelope on the filter, we're going to be using a second envelope because we want to make this really snappy. Not just go by feel, but we don't want to mess with the first envelope. Let's go right here. Now that's really good so far. Now we're gonna go on to the processing, and this is really simple. All you need is distortion, EQ, compression, and maybe a little bit of reverb. That's totally optional, totally up to you. It's based on your taste. And if you want to get more advanced, you can use the phaser, the flanger, and the chorus. Now for the distortion, we're gonna be using either tube or clip, whatever feels right actually. The previous sound had downsample, so let's see what we can get.
A few moments later.
I think I like downsample a lot better. Next up, we're going to use the EQ, and we're going to cut off some of the lows here, say about 40. And then we're going to cut off some of the high end. Right, nice. Now we're going to bring down the master to about 40, just because we're going to add the compressor, and we're going to add some makeup gain. Now I'm going to set the compressor to multiband, put the threshold to about -30, ratio closer to 1, then put the attack all the way up, and that's just to keep the transients intact. And then the release, I normally set it to about 250 to 300. Now we're going to bring up some of the bands.
One eternity later.
That's nice. Now when you hear with the low end, now normally you don't want your low end to rumble like that. Now hearing it together, so I just added some unison because I wanted a little bit of more stereo around this bass, and then I added a bend plus minus at about -78 just to get something that I feel sounds right. Now it would help this if we had oscillator B being something else. Now I ended up using acid from the analog section, something everyone can use. Now when you hear these together, it instantly gives it exactly what was missing. Now the next thing I'm going to do, because I have the velocity groove, I'm going to throw on the velocity on the volume. Really nice. So like I mentioned before, you can get really technical with this, and you can use the flanger or the phaser and set up some macros Now with the flanger, you can basically set it up for the feedback, and then you can get some really cool effects like this. Now add a chorus. And you get something really unique, so when it drops, it's just like... That's pretty much how you get your stab. Now the low end, you can use whatever it is you want. Just make sure that it's a sine and it's low enough to complement the stab. And if you want to save CPU instead of using Silent or Serum, you can always go and use the 3x OSC, which I tend to use a lot actually. Can give you a really clean bass. So now the next step in terms of layering is just a little bit of process effects in the mixer, and there's nothing going on that's too crazy, just a volume shaper, which is just a sidechain for the kick. I ended up putting the kick through the sidechain to get the right setting, and on the actual bass stab itself, I only really have a transient shaper with a little bit of attack just to make it snappy, little less sustain, and then I cut off some of the high end at 3.8K, and that's just something just to fit right into the mix. And then I took off some of the low end, but if you're going to use 3x OSC, you can always bring back some of the low end. Granted, that might end up fighting with your sub, so I'd be extremely careful about that. That's why I have the cut at 108 Hertz. Now for the sub, it's really simple. Just throw on in Pro Q, then set this to a 96 dB cut off at 100 or 20, and that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to smash that like button. And for those of you who don't know, I just recently finished making my website. It took me quite a long time to make this through Wix.com, and I will leave a link in the description so you guys can check it out. Lastly, if you would like to donate and help a brother out, make this a full-time thing so you can see me more often and see more tutorials, at least on a daily basis, hopefully. Feel free to donate whatever you think my knowledge is worth. And thank you guys so much for watching. FaZe is out.